Hello and welcome. I am Danish Manzoor, and today we have a very interesting guest with us. From a country that I find personally extremely beautiful and extremely resilient. This country has been atoning for the climate sins of the developed world forever. And now we are joined by the Prime Minister of this country, Dr. Lotay Tshering. Prime Minister, welcome to our show on Newsweek. Do you think GNH or gross national happiness is the only indicator that the world should look at when trying to think or talk about Bhutan?
The whole world should look at Bhutan only through the lens of gross national happiness or not. I actually don't know. And we also go around being very happy coming from a place that we have, very peaceful. More than us telling the world, I think it all depends on the world, what they want to learn from us. So learning is not only by teaching, but by willingness to listen and learn. So this is very, very subjective. And I, for one, ever since I knew myself, do not have the habit of preaching anything. I only go around practicing what I believe in. And then it's up to individuals like yourself to tell the world what we have today.
Prime Minister, Bhutan is landlocked. You've got India on one side, you've got China on the other. Yet, your country has been able to stay, let's call it, out of trouble thus far. How difficult do you think it is, and what challenges does Bhutan as a country and you as the Prime Minister face while trying to administer it?
See, it all depends. How tall you are depends on how short your neighbors and friends are. How short you are depends on how tall your friends are actually. So I think how peaceful we are, a kind of society that we have, is not something that we alone build it up. It's our neighbors who help us build it up. It's our neighbors who help us keep the way we are. It's our neighbors' goodwill that has resulted in where we are today. So I think being landlocked can be disadvantages. At the same time, it can be advantages. So I'm so happy to share with you that we are actually on this side, the advantages side. And knowing the fact that we are pegged between two most fastest growing economies in the world excites me the most. We are positioned in the most advantageous way.
So, Prime Minister, if I ask you to define the relationship that Bhutan shares with three countries, India, the United States of America, and China, how would you define them?
I don't think one country can do without being dependent on others, forget being neighbors. Now you have given me three countries, the United States of America, India and China. We are physically between India and China. So we have lots of advantages to take from our two neighbors. I said earlier, not just neighbors, but two neighbors that are most populated in the world. Two neighbors whose economy is growing at an unprecedented pace. So we take a lot of pride and excitement in it. United States of America is also the economy right now and leaders in the world, global power. And we have a lot of goodwill with all Americans and government of America and the leadership there. So I think it's a win-win situation. For us, it will be very difficult to pick one from the three. And for that matter, genuinely, it is wrong to pick one from all good neighbors or good countries in the world. So they are all good for us.
So, Prime Minister, what are the priorities of Bhutan as a nation for its near future?
I don't think no nation can progress or prosper without having a dependable, resilient, robust economy. But for Bhutan, since we have come up through a very unique path, since we have a very, very unique tradition, unique culture, unique environment that resulted us in having carbon negative status today, a unique system which allows us to go around talking about the principles and philosophy of gross national happiness. So since we have these few unique features that no nation on this planet has, so I would like to say Bhutan's future priority is to be rich, to be technologically driven, to have a resilient, robust economy, but grounded on our unique features. That should make our economy totally different from others.
I have noticed while speaking to the locals while I was here was that education and healthcare is free for all of your citizens over here in Bhutan. So how do you manage that?
When I said Bhutan has a lot of unique features, health and education definitely is one, if not the one. His Majesties the Kings, the successive monarchs have always believed that the best social equalizers are health and education. We have a totally state-catered free healthcare and education in the country. We want to give the best of education, but keep it free for our Bhutanese. We want to offer the best of healthcare. Whatever is evolving, what is coming out today, we would like to give it for the citizens of the country and for free. Because if you do not have to worry to educate your children, if you do not have to worry when you are sick, I think that is, I would say, the step number one to prosper. Step number one to call ourselves Bhutanese, to be proud that we are Bhutanese, because we really don't have to worry about these basic features. We also don't take health and education as expenses or cost. These are the most efficient, I would say, investment nowadays. If we have well-educated and healthy society, our nation should prosper. We have to pledge that this will be continued for generations to come.
Prime Minister, now speaking of education, what new initiatives is your government planning to take, or is Bhutan in general planning to take, to ensure that the human resource from Bhutan is ready for the world and the technology challenges?
We have realized that technical and vocational training is something that is really, really required. We also have realized that as simple as definition of literacy is changing. We have to have digital knowledge. We have started a major shift. We are ICTizing the whole educational system. So on that, we have to change the curriculum. We have to ICTize the teachers. We have to ICTize, digitalize the infrastructure. And we have to change the mindset of the teachers and the learners. Since 2 years back, 2020 onwards, we introduced coding system in all the schools. Formal schooling starts from 5 years old in Bhutan, from pre-primary to then you go on to primary school education. From pre-primary, a 5-year-old now gets exposed to coding. He or she may not realize, but it's there. His Majesty so graciously gifted a code monkey system in all the schools. We managed to have ICT labs in all remote schools, but we would like to have dependable, reliable internet connections, which is the challenge now, but we will get there. Almost all the schools are now connected with fiber optics. We would like to digitalize the content and then the students be able to source it ready. Then we are also telling our teachers that they are now no more the source of information. Source of information is ready there on your phone, on our phone is there. Our teachers should now be facilitating between the information and the information seekers. So I think we are going through a major revolution in the education system. And again, it will be for free.
Speaking of the youth with required skill, a lot of skilled youngsters, well-educated, who have gotten their education outside in the world, in other countries, do not want to come back, or many of the youngsters from Bhutan are leaving to other nations at this juncture. So, do you see that as a challenge?
For me, it's not a new trend. Parts of Bhutan had been suffering from brain drain for decades to come. Now with more globalization, similar trend. So they are going to places and countries where they have better opportunities. And to look for opportunities, to explore opportunities in life is human nature and is good. That means there are only capable people can do it. And I have the highest of appreciations for that. Little disappointed because we could not anticipate this. I personally feel a little disappointed and bad that we could not cope up with the requirements and expectations of our educated youth. Is this a challenge for us? Definitely. It will be a disaster for us if we don't change our mindset. His Majesty the King has commanded, initiated and now leading major transformation in the country. All public sectors, civil service being number one. financial institutions, central bank, judiciary, name one, everything is getting transformed because we have to meet the expectations of our educated Bhutanese youth. The result of the transformation can do one of three things or all three things. One, the brain drain trend, the rate will decrease because more and more Bhutanese will have opportunities in-house. I don't think there is one single Bhutanese who is going out because they don't like Bhutan. They don't love Bhutan. That's absolutely not the case. They all love Bhutan, love their motherland. They all love His Majesty the King. But since there's no opportunities as per their expectation, they're looking for opportunities. So they are going out, leaving their loved ones behind.
Are there any specific focus sectors that you are looking to expand in and you would like to have the support system and the end users and the supply chain for it to come to Bhutan?
We are attracting investments at any level possible to invest in Bhutan on renewable energy. That is, hydro being our main resources, which is renewable. We are now focusing more on solar and wind also, so that we'll have energy surplus but coming from renewable sources. We would like to focus on agriculture, riding on technology. Same with education. When we say education, we have to focus a lot on STEM subjects, STEM related education. Humanities have their own requirement, but majority focus on humanities alone will not take Bhutan forward. On that note, we have been sharing our needs with all the countries in the world, the closest being India. We have been sharing with Government of India. If we could be helped or if they could help us with more STEM related subject, trainers, experts, teachers, whatever you call it. So that is one focus that we are going. Digital, as I said, we are again in the transformation process. We are going through I would say a digital transformation. We are almost done with having a national digital ID system. Digital ID system being the spine. We have a big digital component in health. We call it electronic patient record system, so that everything is digitally recorded and will guide the country in resource allocation. In education, we have education management system, learning information management system, where every child, as he or she attends school, the milestones will be recorded. Which are the subjects that he or she is actually inherently good at, so that we can start channeling or directing him or her in the right field.
Prime Minister, now you mentioned about your relationship with India, and there's everyone is talking about right now across the globe about the claim that China lays on 10% of Bhutan at this juncture. So where do you see that going in future?
We have very good relation with India historically and geographically, and I was very happy to have Prime Minister Modi visit us as the first country after elections, and I also reciprocated being New Delhi as my first destination after elections. So, and this relation should go on forever. We do not worry whichever government come to power in Delhi, whichever government comes to power in Thimphu, relation between the two countries will go on forever, and that is something that we all take it for sure. With China, we have absolutely friendly relation. As boundary talks have progressed very smoothly. We had the technical level visits from Thimphu to China a month back, and the progress was very good. Now the next stage will be their technical team coming to Thimphu and then sorting out whatever timeline that we have agreed upon in China. And then after that is to physically demarcate the boundary between the two countries. I don't think there are two countries in the world that is resolving the boundary demarcation in the most friendly manner that Bhutan and China is doing it. A lot of credit, of course, goes to my predecessors, His Majesty the Kings, but a bigger share goes to the bigger neighbors. Is their positive thinking towards us, is their friendly feeling for us, and genuinely goodwill gesture that we have from two giants that we have as neighbors. So I'm grateful to all of them.
Now, Prime Minister, the biggest conversation around Bhutan has always been climate change. This country being intrinsically carbon negative from ages. What is the message that you have for the world from Bhutan?
I mean, when you talk about climate change, I think Bhutan rightly stands out, and for many individuals and countries in the world who are very climate sensitive, I think have taken note of this, that Bhutan naturally being carbon negative, when the whole world is trying to be carbon neutral by 2050, we are already carbon negative. Many countries in the world can never be carbon negative, but we are carbon negative. So again, thanks to my predecessors and His Majesty the Kings, because if you go through our legal system, our constitution mandates us to give at least 60% of the country under forest cover. I don't know how many constitutions in the world will have this vision. We had it. We have been preserving our pristine environment for generations. Yes, I also admit that when the whole world was getting industrialized, we did not and we could not. Now, which one will be taking precedence, I don't know. We did not, we could not. So if we had industrialized like any other nations in the world, will we be carbon negative today? I doubt. But thank God that we did not or we could not industrialize. That's why we remained poorer for a little longer duration, but now we have the richness that no other nation has. 72% of the country under forest cover. What will we do going ahead? We have already committed to the UN and all climate bodies through our nationally determined contribution that we have pledged to keep the country as green as we have now forever. The 72% of the country under forest cover is again further protected as national parks, biological corridors, biodiversity hotspots, and we have legal instruments to protect them forever. At certain places, even at the cost of some inhabitants there, some rural villages have been ancestrally living there, and they are at a little disadvantage. So we are looking for ways and means to support, or if possible to even relocate them sometimes, so that they will also be contributing not just to Bhutan but to the whole world. So at this time, I only wish if greenhouse gas needs visa and passport to cross international boundaries. Greenhouse gas that is emitted elsewhere on this planet is affecting us. And as you rightly said, we are resource constrained. Being resource constrained, our adaptability is very poor. Our resilience is also being threatened. We are challenged with a lot of natural disasters that comes and surprises us anytime. So I think these are, I would say again, part and parcel of life. But we are genuine, we are determined that we will remain like this. The biggest threat to our carbon negativity is the emission from fossil fuel-driven cars. And we have a national program on introducing more and more electric vehicles. And we have not really gone by numbers, but in principle, we have a national project on it to see how far we can go and see if we can replace 50, 60, 70% of the cars being electrically driven would be one answer. We are also exploring hydrogen technology that is evolving very fast, emerging very fast, and we would like to focus more and invest more on that.
Prime Minister, the way you mentioned about what Bhutan is giving to the world, Bhutan's commitment to the climate change, do you think that the world is doing enough to ensure that it stays that way by supporting you enough?
We are not obligated to remain carbon negative. We can do what we want to do. But we genuinely feel that this is the way forward. Being carbon negative is our wealth. We realize that the whole world have started appreciating us, and I have gratitude for that. The whole world, lot of money, lot of resources is being pumped into reducing greenhouse gas emission, reducing the level of emissions so that we bring the whole world at carbon neutrality by 2050, and many big emitters have also pledged. This is difficult to pledge. Pledging that we will be carbon neutral, carbon negative forever is little easier than India and China pledging to be carbon neutral by 2060, 70, whatever number of years they have pledged. That is more bigger commitment, I would say. We have been naturally green. We have been naturally carbon negative. There's carbon credit system coming that will recognize the way we have been preserved. So what we have preserved until now is now becoming a real investment that is true, in truest sense, the most sustainable investment. Thank you very much for coming all the way to Bhutan to meet us. I only have to say that Bhutanese are very genuine, Bhutanese are very hardworking, Bhutanese are very sincere. Watch out.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I was in conversation with Dr. Tshering Lotay, the Prime Minister of Bhutan. We had a very interesting conversation, and I hope that all of you also enjoyed what we spoke about. And with this one last message that do visit Bhutan, I wrap today's show. Thank you very much for joining us.